How did you manage to make an ice joke that was not offensive, really? Just
I
bad, but not offensive.
I don't know, Sejohn. I guess because that's the kind of thing that they should do, right? Like, let's change our view in the eyes of the American people. What do American people love? Iced coffee. Iced coffee. For, I don't know. I guess it would have to be like fair trade and not from Colombia.
Oh, this is so good. See, still not really offending anybody in particular.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty good at that. Sejohn, I wanted to start this week's episode by asking you. Now, I don't want to insinuate you're a coward, but have you ever been tested? Because I'd like to think that if you would pass.
Okay, yeah.
No. The reason I say that is because I don't know. I had never had to. Knock on wood.
Okay.
No. I just had a blood test on Tuesday, and
Oh.
it's the weirdest thing in the world, getting a blood test. First of all, the girl who took my blood was like, "Oh, you got that golden blood," which like,
The best part is there's no other better phrase for that. That's exactly what we call it. They took my blood the other day. Well, we never came up with anything more savvy than that, but that's just what we've always leaned on. I
uh,
guess because it's such a base, like primal thing for us that we're just so pissed that it happened. They
or
took my damn blood.
I loved it. I haven't had to give blood in 8 years. The last time I got a physical, right? Because I do things smart.
They
I
give you
like
cookies.
to. No, I didn't get a cookie at all. Like she's like, which arm would you prefer? And I guess the left one because it's already elevated. And then she's like taking the blood. And she's like, oh, you got that golden blood, and like that like sounds like a negative thing, but what she
Yeah.
means is that like, oh, your blood flows really fast. So like these vials are already full. You're done here.
Okay.
Um, and and so like I get this blood test, first one 8 years because I haven't had a physical since I went to go work on the ocean. And I now they like email you your blood test results. Like we live
Oh.
in the fucking future. I know that we don't have flying cars or Rosies or like dogs that talk like Scooby Doo, but we still live in the future. Which
I'm half surprised though that they didn't just send it to an app on your phone.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that they have a My Chart app. But I am old school and I like me a desktop computer. I'll be honest. uh, I got an email saying your stuff is available, and I bet if I had clicked on that email in my email app, I could have gotten the blood results right on the thing. And the crazy thing is they go through all the tests, and then in the notes section, it's like it doesn't specify if you have hepatitis C or HIV in any of your test results, but I wanted to let you know you were negative for both. Like it's like an afterthought sort of
Hey,
thing.
just by the way, clean as a whistle, man. All right.
By the way, no STIs.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for that. But then, like, I think of it's hard not to think of the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones whenever AIDS testing comes up because spoilers for a song that's 22 years old, right? Now you feel fucking old. I'm sorry. You feel fucking old because Knock on Wood is 22 years old. And
Man.
what he's talking about is getting an AIDS test. Like, I've never had to get an AIDS test. Knock on wood.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Devon.
Oh, okay. Actually, before we go into this, hi, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm Devon Decker.
And I'm CJ Sarowick, and you hear that, ladies? Devon's clean. No, it's funny that you mentioned that that's what the song is about because I don't think many people are aware of that, especially because the first couple of times you encounter it is on WBRU or whatever, and you're just popping along to it, right? But senior year of college, it was very popular at the time, much due to Barney on How I Met Your Mother, for people to be making pump up mixes. Like, and it's something that everybody always kind of did, but it was like a thing for a while for everybody to be like, hey, here's my pump up mix.
If
And so
we're gonna give credit to Barney Stinson, it's a get psyched mix.
there it is, yeah. So a friend of ours, Kevin Tebow, friend of the show, decided that the senior year of high school, of college, I mean, we were gonna hop in the car, we were gonna probably, I don't know, probably go spend way too much money on like McDonald's or something to celebrate, because that was about as badass as we got then.
What were you celebrating?
It was our first day of senior year of college, man.
First
Like
day
we
of-
were back.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I wanted to make sure. You didn't specify that.
Sorry,
It's like
sorry.
we're just celebrating with McDonald's because it's Tuesday.
Also, it's a day that ends in Y. But yes, we get in the car and he throws it on, and that song comes on, and he is just jamming along to it, singing at the top of his lungs. He's so happy, and the song ends, and I was just like, man, it's always so weird to me that that's such a good, happy, like, gets like song, but also it's about AIDS testing, and you would have thought I kicked his dog. He had no idea, and it was just like, well, that's it. He practically stopped the CD and threw it out the window of the car.
You know what the sad thing is? That's what you do. Like we don't you don't understand that in the modern world where like all your music is on your cell phone, which is also basically the computer chip in your body that like allows you to live in the modern world.
I mean, yeah, we're one step away from the literal iPhone
Yeah.
from the Futurama episode. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't think about that, but like in that time when you were burning CDs and CDs cost like a nickel,
Yeah.
if that happens, the appropriate response is to immediately eject it and chuck it out the friggin' window. Because you go home, you reburn that.
Yeah.
And not only do you reburn it, maybe you take off the AIDS testing song if it offends you so greatly. And
I don't think it was so much that it offended him that it was about AIDS
No, I
testing,
know that.
so much
I'm
as it was
just
just kind of like a real bummer of a realization, man. Like,
no, but
yeah,
I mean,
for the record, I want to put it out there. I don't think Kevin is anti-AIDS testing.
no, that's not even what I said. That's not even what I'm saying. But I'm like, if you're the kind of person who like, fucking this song cannot be in my car anymore. Bye, CD. I'm sorry, dirty little secret. You really like tied it together after Knock on Wood. Like nothing goes better than the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, than the All American Rejects. This is my Get Psyched mix of bands with more than 7 syllables in their names.
Nice. No, I think really what it was he couldn't throw me out of the car, so he threw it out instead.
But that's what you did. That's the thing that we did. I can tell you, I cannot tell you how many times like a burned CD from a friend, because you'd get like these. I don't know, Rich Ferry. He gave me a burned brand new CD
Oh,
by the band Brand New. I didn't know
Yeah.
Brand New at all, and he's like, "Man, you should listen to these guys." And I'm listening to it, and he like. Rich was a good guy. I liked Rich. We were really good friends. Like it's a shame that we've like fallen out of touch with each other. But he did not give CDs in like a jewel case or even like a slide. It would be like, here's a folded piece of notebook paper.
oh, yep, with like weird pen art on the front of it, right? And like, here you go.
No, he wouldn't even do pen art. It's just like, oh, I burnt this CD for you. Here, and he'd rip out perforation still on it. So my fucking 11th grade English teacher would not accept this, but I'm expected to. And he'd fold the CD and hand it to me as like, I have nowhere to put this now. Like if I put it in my pocket, like it's probably going to get ruined.
We at the very least would always throw like a trogdor on there or something, or like
Yes,
what's the
you and I
REM monster or
would.
something. Yeah.
This would be like, because it would be such an afterthought. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I burned this CD for you. Here you go. And it's like, oh, thank you. Like it's like this weird, like I was thinking about you when I listened to this CD. But yeah, here's just like a piece of paper that I put
Well,
in.
and like let's no bones about it. Like the mix CD thing, totally born out of the mixtape era, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole idea of like I put this thing together for you because it made me think of you. But man, like there's nothing more cathartic, and we never got to this point with tapes because they were always so expensive. But there was nothing more cathartic than finding a CD from an ex like 5 years later and getting to just like either burn it to your computer first and then throw it out, or just straight up throw it out. But you always check to make sure maybe you should save this particular one. But then you always symbolically got to break the disc and throw it away. Maybe that's the other reason why tapes were never really quite that good at that exact moment, because it was really hard to recopy a tape unless you had specific machinery to do so. Whereas like nowadays, like anything you could stick a CD in your damn microwave and it'll burn it for you.
It will definitely burn it. But that's the
Get
thing.
it.
So like I would so immediately I get in my car and I rip this CD, right? Because and we all had laptops at the time for that exact reason. Like I remember I went to Josh's house one night and I had my laptop with me and I'm like, oh well, hello wall of CDs, I'm gonna rip some stuff from you. And he got mad at me. He's like, no, I don't like people ripping my CDs. And I'm like,
This picture that we paint of you going over to people's houses gets better and better every week. By
I
the
know,
way, man, I love it.
it's very true, isn't it? No, but it's just like, and he's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I wanted this Midtown CD. I've heard it a couple of times, and I thought I'd grab it. But like, he viewed it as theft that like I
What?
ripped his CDs. I don't know. Like
That's a little.
that's how it
I mean,
read the conversation.
here's what I would say. Here's Sejon's internet court judgment here on this. Um, the idea that you maybe did it without asking is a little uncool,
No, no,
simply
no, no, no,
because
no,
you
no,
were
no, no, no,
touching
no,
his
no, no, no,
stuff.
no, 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 no.
But if you
Not
asked and he
not
was like,
me.
"No, you
Not me
can't."
thieving from Josh.
Oh,
Me
okay.
thieving from Midtown. Like the old Napster argument from Metallica, which again
Yeah,
they weren't 100% wrong. I will. Nobody likes to support Metallica in the Napster fight, but like me having to physically go to your house, pick up a CD, and burn it, there's a bit of an inconvenience factor there. I'm
I don't
expelling
know,
some
man.
energy,
Anybody
and
that ever wants to start talking about like the weird legalities of this nonsense, I point out that it is practically like scientifically proven that if your music is being the more your music is being quote unquote stolen, actually the more that people are actually buying your music on the side. Like it's the same argument with movies that and it's the reason why that argument never goes anywhere is people talk about that and the first thing anybody points out is that it's actually proven that the people that steal movies are the people that actually are the ones buying DVDs as well, which like nobody does, right? Now since the Netflix thing has kind of taken off in the last 5 years, those conversations could be completely different, but that was a huge thing back then, was that they actually proved that the kind of people that steal music are also the only people buying CDs nowadays.
very
So
true.
so
And that's
like,
and here's the other thing. Like me first in the Gimme Gimmes.
mhm,
I heard "End of the Road" in 2011.
okay,
Like a friend shared the YouTube video for "End of the Road," and I'm
nice.
like, and like, not that I didn't like the Gimmes, but it was like one of those things where at the time when that happened, I was like so against covers of music. Like I was young and idealistic, and I'm like, the original song is the only song. There's no merit in covers. The Gilgamesh vagina is 3 feet wide and full of teeth. Oh,
Also completely ignoring like the entire history of music and the idea of like
of that, it's that,
like
like yeah,
canons and
like it was
stuff.
one of
Yeah.
those like it was just like such like a weird place where I was in, and it really sort of stemmed from Glee and Don't Stop Believing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's a whole generation of kids who
Yeah, where
only know that song as the song from the first episode of Glee.
yeah, and I understand there's definitely the fan factor anger there because that was going on with a lot of stuff then too. And not just because of Glee, but like there was it became really popular to suddenly do like covers and stuff and like new styles again, for radio. Like for a while, like yeah, everybody would do covers, but they would be like B-sides on their albums, right, throughout like the 90s. And then suddenly, with one or two exceptions, but then suddenly in like the 2000s it became like a huge thing. And I think the end of this was actually just 2 years ago. Fallout Boy's entire album, every song on it being a sampled and retuned version of a different song, like the Munsters theme and stuff, which was a great album. I'm not knocking it in any way, but I think that is the inevitable conclusion of like the teeny bopper cover.
Yeah,
But yeah.
if you want to talk about like where the first cut came from, and the first cut is the deepest. Cat Stevens proved it, and then Linda Ronstadt sang it, and no, Rod Stewart sang it, improved it, and then Sheryl Crow sang it, improved it. The first cut is the deepest. I'm so happy that like that happened. Thank you,
Yeah.
Cat Stevens, for originally recording the song, Rod Stewart for covering it, and then Sheryl Crow for covering it again.
And
Just for
Sheryl
this
Crow for actually
conversation
making it a
right
standard,
here.
like, right?
Kinda, yeah. Because I remember like what the best thing to me was someone's like, "Can't believe she covered this Rod Stewart song," and I'm like, "Well, it was a Cat Stevens song first, so I don't know. Like,
I
are you
don't know who gets
being
to
like
claim it.
ironically satirical right there,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
um,
But literally, in doing it a third time, she literally
she
makes
did
it a
make it a
standard,
standard, yes.
right?
But
Like,
but the actual first cut for me was that Jessica Simpson song, "I Think I'm in Love," that for some ungodly reason has the opening riff of Jack and Diane playing during the entire song. Like, so it's just like down, down, now, dun, dun it, dun it,
oh my god.
and then like that just loops. Like those two bars of music just loop, and it's like this has nothing to do with this fucking song. It's like it's just there. It's like it's so that if I'm listening to the radio and I hear those riffs, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, Jack and Diane, and you crank it up, and then it's like, what the fuck, Jessica Simpson?
Oh
What the
man,
fuck? And that's why it wasn't Nick Lachey or whoever she married that
Nick
ruined her
Lachey.
career. It was goddamn. I think I'm in love.
I don't think
And
anybody
her
believes Nick Lachey
sister.
ruined her career.
No. And and her sister lip syncing on SNL, which makes sense at the time. Like all music videos and musicals that you've ever watched, they're lip syncing too.
And a
Very
lot of
rarely.
SNL oh my God, Hests or ghosts? What are they? No, guests. A lot of SNL guests were also doing that. That was pretty standard for the show. It's why the equipment was available for her to do it.
Yeah, it's not like she demanded. I can't think of her sister's name. Was it Ashley? Ashley Simpson?
Ashley Simpson, yeah.
She did a song called Boomerang that I absolutely love, that I still put on my Get Psyched mixes now. And it's just, I'm sorry. But also at the time, like, so that, like, really got under my skin. And then Whitney Houston did it. She sampled Ventura Highway by America. And again, like, this has nothing to do with this song. It's like Fall Out Boy and what they've done, and where, like, the sampling of music or, like, the redoing of music has changed is that people really make it their own. And another thing about, like, that time where I was first introduced to Me First in the Gimme Gimmes was, like, cinema is also a passion of mine. And at that time, we were in, like, the fucking height of the remake. So it just felt like, to me, in my 18-year-old mind, that, like, nothing is going to be original or new again.
Right.
It's like we are mining the past.
Yeah.
And we are, as a result, destroying our future.
Well, and you know, for a couple of dudes that like deal pretty heavily in the nostalgia factor, right? Like we rest our laurels on that pretty often. I mean, we have to admit that like that's kind of been the way of things for a while, if not forever, right? The thing is like people love to make these arguments and talk about how there's nothing original anymore and about how you just don't get music like you used to 40 years ago, or movies or television like you used to 40 years ago, because everything's based on a comic book, everything's based on a book, everything's based on a TV show that made into a movie, made into a musical, right? And it's like, calm down, because like again, look back and you'll see that that's kind of just the way that things have always been. Like and art in general has always been like a sharing of information, right? Like art is the original shareware. Like that's just the way that it is, man. So yeah, I remember having that period in my life too for like a hot second, until I realized that I was way into any cover of a song that brought it from a major key into a minor key. That was suddenly a huge thing for me. I went specifically searching for minor key covers. Also, the other big thing that came out around that time that really got me over it was the I forget the recording company that would put these out, but the Punk Goes, was it Atticus or something? But I forget.
I think it was Atticus Records, like Punk Goes Pop and
yeah,
Punk Goes
or
80s,
Punk Goes
or
Acoustic was the big
punk.
one. Yeah. So they made a bunch of these like really popular cover, essentially the same album, like 10 different ways that they could sell to me. Like I cannot tell you. I think out of 10 CDs, I think that there's maybe 14 tracks. I think they somehow were able to like manipulate the same 14 tracks onto every one of them.
Well, and the beautiful thing of that is that like they've licensed those 14 songs, and then we're just going to cover it every way imaginable, and someone's going to buy all of them, and
Exactly.
that will cover our investment, and then everything else is profit.
Yeah, man. So like I remember definitely for everybody having that kind of period in their life where they were just like, yeah, the original was always better. But then like you had with that dude, that moment when you realize, oh, this original is so much better. And then somebody goes, well, actually, this is a cover 3 times over already. And you're just like, God damn it. Like everything I know is a lie. Growing up is weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so that whole thing, but like I'm introduced to Enter the Road, and then like I go and I download every Me First and the Gimme Gimmes album ever that had ever been released up to that point. But now whenever they drop a new one, I buy it, to the fact that I was at a record shop last week, and their greatest hits album is on vinyl. Like it just released this year, and if you buy it, you get a free digital copy of it from Big Fat Records. And I'm yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I feel like I'm supporting the band here, and it sort of like cleanses me of any guilt that I may have from that illegal download of their albums like 8 years ago. The fact that because I've heard their music, I've now supported them ever since. Right. So, like, just to support what you were going for. But this whole 20-minute dialogue talking about original things and remakes really leads into what I wanted to talk about this week, Sejohn. Now,
Shoot.
do you want to open door number 1 or door number 2?
Oh, I love this. I
I
love
know, I love
choices.
doing it. I know you love
Uh,
choices.
well, let's see. I think. Phew, man. Usually you give me a little bit more detail, but
Okay,
that's okay.
something one of door number 1 is original content. Door number
Mm,
2 is remade content.
well, we all know original content's better. Let's go with door number one.
So, Sejohn, 3 nights ago, you shared an article on Twitter
Yes.
by Mr. Rex Reed, I believe his name
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Mr. Like, okay, for anybody that doesn't actually know, Rex Reed is I mean, akin to Siskel and Ebert. He has been around for decades as a film critic. Sorry, keep going.
Well, no, like you need to understand that I brought this up yesterday. I was hanging out with Jeff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Rex Reed wrote that," and I'm like, "Wait, like a real person that like I know wrote that article that had like the clickbaitiest headline ever?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta be shitting down my throat."
Well, yeah, and so that was part of my thing is first of all, this dude has no business, like, I think, writing his own articles anymore because he's clearly lost whatever touch he once had. Sorry. Anyway, keep going.
No. But because of that, I Hotel Artemis is what this article was about, and I was interested because it had all my favorite people in it. Sophia
hell of a
Botella,
cast.
Dave Bautista, Jodie Foster, freaking Sterling K. Brown, and it's just like, yeah,
Jeff
okay.
Goldblum.
Well, okay, so that's I didn't know that Jeff Goldblum was in it.
Oh, he's like
So-
predominant on the poster.
Yeah,
People were making fun of it almost like they were making fun of the Thor Ragnarok one, and I mean that in like the nice way. Like everybody loves Jeff Goldblum,
Right.
but they were like having a ball with the Hotel Artemis poster as well.
So I was like, I wanted to see it, obviously, just because Sophia Botella. I love Sophia Botella.
Yeah.
Even though she can't speak a word of English,
According to Rex Reed. Oh, God.
God,
Yeah, anyway.
like that was crazy that he wrote those words.
Yes.
But then you shared that article, and I'm like, I need to see Hotel Artemis before we record the next Say Report so that I can actually like speak about this.
Yeah,
because like that article incensed me. Just the headline incensed me. Like I'm not going to read this article until I see the movie, and I'm not going to be able to talk about it intelligently on the Say Report unless I go and see the movie and then read the article.
Well, and can I say that one of the things that really got me about the title specifically, just because you're bringing it up, is the fact that like I had seen other reviews pop up in my like news feeds and stuff like that from then, and even the headlines alone, I could tell that they were much more level-headed and like thoughtful critiques than what he wrote. Like like you said, it was very like on the nose and clickbaity and like clearly trying to incense me into reading it in a way that felt really gross. But
in
like,
a way that like if then the article praised it and it was like a satirical fucking like because he calls it the worst movie of the year, and then like so after I read the article, my jaw was literally dropped.
yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe that these words were put down on digital paper and then published by someone. Like,
Right.
like it's that first disbelief that like someone wrote this, a living, breathing person wrote this down, and then it's like, but then another living, breathing person was like, yeah, we'll put that up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's like, and I have mentioned this before for a long time. My biggest issue with reviews on the internet is when they fucking cite something from the source material.
Okay. Yeah.
And he says that the only laugh in the movie, spoilers for Hotel Artemis, but we'll see what that means, is when she finally gets fed up with everything and says, I'm going to put up a no vacancy sign. Right?
Yeah.
Guess what doesn't fucking happen in Hotel Artemis? That thing that made Rex Reed laugh during Hotel Artemis.
Oh God.
So,
Oh man.
so I read that article and I am double fucking shocked. I got double shock face. And so I send it to Dale, and I'm like, you need to read this because we had just come from Hotel Artemis. We had literally just left the theater. I'm like, you need to read this. And she reads it, and after the first 5 words, she's like, I'm not going to waste my time with this. And I'm like, I got you. I understand where you're coming from. I literally need you to read this because I don't believe that it exists. Like, I feel like I have slipped into some sort of mirror fucking pocket dimension. I'm in the black fucking mirror, and like, this is what has happened. The internet has like become sentient and is specifically attacking things that I care about.
Yeah.
Like, that's how crazy this article is, Dale.
Yeah.
And she reads it and she goes, "That didn't fucking happen. In fact, they have the trailer here. I believe he just watched the trailer and then wrote a movie review. I don't think he saw the movie." And she threw on the trailer and she's like, "All right, the only thing that would have proven my thing is if that no vacancy line happened in the trailer."
And it was trailer trash for the
Yeah,
movie,
and it was
right?
just
Yeah.
trailer trash for the movie. Did not happen. So like, thank God, kinda. So like, I believe he did it, but he invented a scene that he then lavished his only sliver of praise upon.
I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna give him credit in one specific spot here, just because this is an easy potential. That being the type of reviewer that he was definitely one of the first people invited to go and see this film, probably out in New York. So there's a chance that maybe he saw a cut of this movie, one cut before the one that made it to finally to theaters, that did happen to have that, and there was maybe a moment of like, this moment doesn't read right with the rest of the film, so they just cut out 5 seconds. That is not completely unheard of.
No, it's not completely unheard of. And
It's
that's
giving
sort of
Rex
what I
Reed more
figured.
credit than I want to
Dude,
right now.
you know, let's give Rex Reed even more credit. They're at that critic screening. That line happens. Rex Reed, in a sea of quiet people, laughs out fucking loud. And the director's like, "I gotta fucking cut that. Rex Reed is laughing.
Rex Reed with that stupid Rex Reed laugh of his.
That needs to go." Oh, but it kind of ties the whole.
Yeah.
That needs to go. I am Drew Pierce.
The thing is like I have not had the benefit of going to see it yet because, to be entirely honest, I'm not even sure if is it wide released yet or not. Or
Its official wide release was the 8th, was June 8th.
Okay, so and I've been excited to see it. Like we said, the cast looks phenomenal. The whole concept seems really weird, and I don't know a lot about it, which is why I really want to see it.
So stay away from it. Like, just stay away from it. Oh, you know who I forgot to credit? Charlie Day. But then so did Rex Reed.
Well, maybe that's like a good thing for Charlie Day. He's the only one that comes out unscathed in Rex Reed review. But the one thing about the review that really just kind of got to me was just some of the like really I don't know, like
things he said about
ignorant
people.
ignorant things that he said about people, and then after reading all of this stuff that I just didn't agree with, but I was just like, man, this guy's opinion sucks. The second he started actually attacking Stephanie Butello, is that how you say her last name? Sophia Butello. The second that he started attacking like her accent and like not her acting and not her like believability or anything like that. He literally just calls out her accent as being unintelligible to him. First of all, I have heard her speak, and I don't find her unintelligible. But aside from that, that is so far removed from critiquing the film on its artistic merits that I just wanted to like slam my computer down at that point. And the thing is like, I think maybe the thing that really got me about it is it wasn't just some nobody on the internet doing this, because I read that kind of nonsensical crap all the time, right? I too read Reddit. But like, this is published not just online, but also in like the New York Times. Like, he seems like an actual source for decades, like actual criticism. And I don't know, like I said earlier, like I hold him akin to Siskel and Ebert, right? Or Roper even. Like these guys that like were really well informed in the way that they critiqued films. One of the great, you ever want to read really good criticism, read Roger Ebert. Like, go back and just read some of even the stuff he didn't like.
So what I'm going to say is go read North.
North, yes.
His review of North, which North is one of those movies that like I saw when I was younger and I liked it, but probably because I was a kid and we were in the very heyday of kids versus adults.
Exactly.
Like, that was the fucking 90s in a nutshell.
And North was really hit that nail on the head really well. So if you were a particular like let's say 13-year-old boy when you saw that movie read fine to you. But in retrospect,
but yeah, watching it again, it's like
film.
I mean, it's not that it's obscure and it's weird for the 90s, and that's fucking saying something.
Well, and for what's his face? Reiner was Carl Reiner made that one, right?
I believe it was, yes.
Or Rob Reiner, I mean, sorry.
Reiner. No, yes.
Or is that Gary Marshall? No, it's Rob Reiner.
It is Rob Reiner, right? Because it's like his weird follow-up to, because Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Death Becomes Her and then North. He's
See
like,
how
oh,
we did that?
I met
But
Bruce
yeah, so
Willis.
North is like this really weird movie because it's not what you expect from Rob Reiner, and also like it wasn't what we were doing yet in popular film in the 90s. It really is him. It's really him being unleashed, which we inevitably see happen with every artistic director out there, right? Where like they get the opportunity to make a movie unhinged, and everybody kind of like reels back for a second. It's just like, whoa, okay, somebody go back to putting a leash on this dude. Um, but yeah, so anyway, go back and read the way that Roger Ebert kind of pulls apart North, and it's not a movie that he enjoys, but he talks about it in a really well informed way that this review has just killed me. And it, to the point where I started thinking about the way that we talk about things on this, and I hope that we speak from an informed standpoint whenever we pull something apart. Like our entire Alex Inc. episode was something I kept thinking about. Like I it's not that I feel like you need to do the criticism sandwich every time. It's not like you need to find the good in everything. You just need to be able to explain to me in a smart and kind way why something doesn't work for you.
Well,
like,
so I was about to lavish a little bit of praise on Jeff, right? Because like
okay.
Jeff and I are friends because in my head I had made him my movie rival because he was the only other person I knew who was seeing the like volume of movies in theaters that I was seeing.
Yeah.
And like I remember you and I were at like the billiards club in Warwick, and I'm like, oh Jeff, he got to 93 this year, and I only got to 92. Like I've been thwarted. And then like the next,
I'll get you next time, He-Man.
and then
You're
I'm
definitely
like,
Skeletor.
oh, I know I'm Skeletor in this scenario. I understand. Yes. But then that next year, like the next month, I'm like, hey, Jeff, you want to go see a movie together?
Mm-hmm.
So we started like combining our powers, and finding a person to go see movies with is difficult. For me in a lot of ways, right? Because I am definitely a person who stays to the end of the credits, and I know that does not jive with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I also like to get there a little bit early because my seat is important to me. And like even you and I know you like to sit closer to the screen than I ever would.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just these little like give and takes with stuff. But the most important thing to me, and the reason why Jeff and I went and saw all these movies together, and why a friendship like really blossomed out of it, is because even though he says I like everything, right? Which you know from experience, not necessarily the case.
not necessarily.
Because if I don't like something, I don't like something, like to a real level. Of like
it's a bell curve, like but like in the other direction. What is that called? But he essentially, the second something becomes not your thing, it very quickly becomes not your thing. So
I believe
yes.
it's a Yeb curve.
Ooh.
Yes. Ooh. Double L. Yama. But and the thing is that like, so even though Jeff generally will have critiques for films, it's always that he presents them in such an intelligent way. Like it's not just like I didn't like it, done. It's
right.
like I didn't like it, and here's why. And that's the important thing to me. Is that if you can, even like Rex Reed's thing, which is basically trash, right? Like him attacking Sofia Boutella's accent, like that's where it's like you crossed the line there. That was not really the thing that you should have done.
Right.
Even though it's like that, he gave reasons why he didn't like it. He gave them in a very ham-fisted, blunt manner that made him look more ignorant than he has ever looked before, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, right? Like if you're gonna do it, and like talking about Roger Ebert, even though he did not like North, and he did not like North, like that's the movie I think of. I think of Roger Ebert's favorite movie, Citizen Kane. Least favorite movie, North from 1994, starring Elijah Wood.
Oh, man.
And it's just like, but like, I don't know. It's sorry, I'm going in circles. But then also to tie into the Alex Inc. episode, Jeff said that he listened to that episode and he's like, I didn't get the Squarespace thing because Squarespace would sponsor anything. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is they hadn't recorded the podcast yet.
There wasn't anything to sponsor.
And he's like,
man.
Yeah, no, I get that, I guess. But like even then, like it's just one of those things because you brought up our critique of Alex Inc. and it's
Yeah.
and I feel like we gave it a fair shot, and even they, like, even when I read like press releases and stuff from it, they were not sure of what a podcast sitcom should be.
Right.
Where, like, we haven't talked about it because it took me so long to watch the last 2 episodes of it, but AP Bio, our big thing that whole series was, what does this show want to be?
Yeah.
And in the last episode of the first season, I don't know if you're caught up yet.
Not yet. I haven't finished the season.
It is very clear that this show has figured out what it wants to be. And this is what it's going to be.
Good.
And that is why, because it got renewed for a second season, and I'm like, I friggin' love AP Bio. I look forward to watching it every week. It is a show that I've watched every episode at least 2 times. I will be completely honest with you. It's one of the only new shows from 2018 that I've watched every episode multiple times. And to see that it finally came into its run, I'm like, now I'm excited for the second season. And I wish you were there too, so we could kind of dish over it. But it's all right.
Do that.
It happens. And yeah, so go see Hotel Artemis. I won't ruin anything of it, but I will say I did not know Jeff Goldblum was in it. So when he showed up and who he showed up as, it was the fucking best moment in the movie for me.
he's man, he's doing something right now that I really enjoy. I don't know when he decided that he was just gonna go the weird route. Like maybe it was back with his Tim and Eric days stuff, but Chef Goldblum is the greatest bit of all time. Anyway, I just I love Jeff Goldblum right now. I always have, but like that it's that moment for every actor when they have to realize like what am I going to do to stay relevant? And a lot of them make the wrong decisions. They try and do things that just do not work with their brand. He figured it out perfectly. He was just like, no, I'm the guy that was in The Fly. Remember that? Like this is how weird I've always been. So I'm just going to stick with this. And everybody kind of, I don't know, forgot that for a moment, that he was always kind of this weird goofy dude that now he's just owning it.
Right.
So if like Christopher Walken style.
If I had to peel the onion of Jeff Goldblum, I would believe that like he was in The fucking Fly. You're right. Mm-hmm. That says something, right? He does Big Chill, he does The Fly. And there's other movies in between, but like think of him in The Big Chill, think of him in The Fly. That's two very different performances. Mm-hmm. And then he's in Jurassic Park. And then he's the only one that they bring back for The Lost World. Right? So he like becomes this like thing that like I don't know, I don't think he expected to become like this Jeff Goldblum like sort of symbol of Jurassic Park, which was a symbol of like movie making in the 90s in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, but it even holds up to this day, right? Because the big reveal in the Jurassic Kingdom trailer has been him, right? Like that was the very first thing that they showed.
That's my point. So I feel like Jeff Goldblum, and again, this is all conjecture on my part. It is if I had a Jeff Goldblum onion and I were peeling the layers back and finding exactly what I wanted to find underneath. Jurassic World happens, and it makes more fucking money than any movie ever, right? Like at the time, it blew everything fucking away. We were like, why the fuck did Jurassic World do this? And then he's like, so I'm probably going to get contacted to be in the next one, right? Like it'd be a little strange if this happens and I don't at least get a phone call,
right?
Even like a page. If my pager doesn't go off, JP5, like it'll be strange. So then he's thinking he's like, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do whatever the sequel is because this movie made more fucking money than any movie ever.
It'd be dumb for me to not get involved somehow.
Like if I get that page, I might even make the phone call. But no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait. I'm Jeff Goldblum. But then he eventually gets that page and he's like, yeah, I gotta do this, but I need to make sure that before I do this, people think of me as that weird sort of fucking quirky dude. So then he's like, oh, you know what made more money before Jurassic World? Fucking Avengers and these Marvel movies. All right, I'm going to be in that, but I'm going to be the craziest fucking dude ever.
Yeah. Oh, man. But thinking about his Tim and Eric stuff, and then the couple of things that he did with I want to say Gus Van Sant, but that's not the guy, Wes Anderson. That his role in what's the one where he plays the lawyer with the family?
The Royal Tenenbaums.
No, it's not that one.
The Darjeeling Limited.
It might be that one.
I
think
don't
he
know
might be,
Wes Anderson pictures.
I'm pretty sure it might be Darjeeling. Does he play the lawyer for the boys in that one? That might be what it is. But there's a
That
couple.
makes sense. Yeah.
There's the one where he plays the lawyer with the cat, and it is phenomenal. Anyway,
So I
he's
think
done the literally weird role thing for a while now, and I'm really happy to see
he's
him
I wanna
find
make
his
sure
place
I
in
get
this world.
I want the weirdest roles possible before I have to jump back into the skin of Ian Malcolm. Because I want people to be like, all right, so 2017 he does Thor Ragnarok, then he does Hotel Artemis, then he's Ian Malcolm, and then he's fucking Dino Mutt and the Blue Falcon. He's both. He does a rare double role as Dino Mutt and the Blue Falcon. I would be all about that.
In the Super Friends movie?
No, Dino Mutt and the Blue Falcon are their own thing. They're Hanna-Barbera. They met Scooby-Doo once.
They were in the okay.
They were
Maybe
used out of
Wacky
Justice
Razors.
League.
I might have been thinking of Waggy Razors. I could have sworn I've seen them with the Wonder Twins though. Dino Mutt with the Wonder Twins.
That might have happened, but I don't recall it. But Wonder Twins were built for that too. Like they're a Hanna-Barbera creation as well.
Yeah.
Like they weren't DC beforehand, or maybe they weren't. I just like put my foot in my mouth. But what are you gonna do? I'm just saying. I don't think that Blue Falcon. You know where you would have seen him on Laugh Olympics or Harvey Birdman. Like those are the places where you would have seen Blue Falcon. I would find it very hard to believe, but also like completely believable if you ever watched an actual Dino Mutt and the Blue Falcon, cartoon.
No. I think everything I've ever seen them in, they were guest stars. Definitely guest stars.
Yeah, great. They're great, and I would love it if
exactly. Devon?
Yes. Door number 2.
Door number 2.
Ocean's 8.
Hey, I haven't seen it yet. So are you going to get into like a deep dive review
no,
or
I
what?
Won't, especially because you Sejohn, this is a big reveal right here.
Okay.
I did not like Ocean's 12 the first time I saw Ocean's 12. And I did not want to see Ocean's 13 as a result of that. And really, I don't want to say this is when we became friends, honestly. Best friends. This is when we became best friends.
Okay.
Like we were acquaintances. We were definitely friends. It'd be hard to say that like the second we met, we sort of became friends. But there was a day when you were no longer my friend, but you were the kind of person who like 10 years later I would do a podcast with. And that day was you call me up and you're like, we're doing a double feature in Lincoln. Is Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and Ocean's 13. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, what? First, Fantastic Four was garbage. Like, I didn't like that movie. Ocean's 12 was garbage. So what this person essentially, like, it felt like an invite. Really, it felt like, he basically just invited me to go see 2 terrible fucking sequels. And I'm like, fuck him, I'm gonna go. Fuck him, I'm gonna go. And because of you, and because of that invitation, I saw my first Oceans movie in the theaters. Because I hadn't seen Oceans 11 in the movie theater, and I didn't see Ocean 12 in the theater. I was working at the movie store. It was like all about rental at the time for both of those. And I friggin' loved both Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and Ocean's 13, which you did as well. And it's like, this guy's the guy, right? This guy tries to invite me from something. I'm like, call your fucking bluff, right? Double bluff reverso. And we have this great time, and that becomes the summer of the double features.
Yeah.
Because every Tuesday, we would go up to Cinema World, and we would see 2 movies.
Yeah.
Including I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. Just because I like to remind people that we saw I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. We also saw that one in a double feature with Hairspray. And between the 2 movies that had like people portrayed by males in romantic relationships, surprisingly, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry had the actual kiss.
Yeah.
I really expected Chris Walken and John Travolta, like 2 guys who've been acting pretty much their whole lives, to be okay with doing like a little peck as John Travolta portrays a woman. But didn't happen.
Nope. Yeah.
But Kevin James and Adam Sandler, we want to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd's watching.
Tila Tequila's in this movie for some reason. Man. That is actually, it's funny that you bring up now, like just as a side note, it's the first movie that I think I actually recall like recognizing and appreciating Terry Crews as Terry Crews.
Oh yeah, that movie as
he deserves better from me. Yeah, he
as
deserves much better
filmmaker.
for me than that. But that is really the first moment that I have to admit that I was like, "Oh my God, it's that guy! I love that guy." Yeah. I mean, years later, the big role for him that would stick in my mind, I think, as well with a lot of people, is Idiocracy when he plays a President
As the
Muchacho.
president, he's so
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah. He is so good as the president in Idiocracy. But anyway, yeah. So we saw
We saw
so
so
we saw Ocean's 13, and like the thing is it's I want to make it clear, I didn't want to go to these movies because I loved the like Ocean's 12, or I loved, or not that I even loved Fantastic Four. It was the idea that it was $5 to go see these two movies, which meant that it was going to be 250 a piece, and that was what I was willing to give those movies.
right.
Like to
That's
see
why
them
I
in
called
the
it a
theater.
double bluff reverso.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
bluffed yourself, and then you bluffed me,
yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
turned it back on you. Double
And like
bluff reverso. There's even a
it,
name for it.
and Ocean's 13 did this beautiful thing where like it kind of recognized the problems that 12 had and really kind of stepped up its game and became just such a good like way to tie a bow on that particular story.
So I
Like
was
that trilogy
thinking,
stands, it elevated Ocean's 12 is what it
It
did.
really did. And I was thinking about it, talking about Ocean's 8 with someone. Your whole thing about how Deadpool 2, you compared it to The Hangover Part 2, where it's like it was a sequel that they weren't expecting to make.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
watching Ocean's 12, they put them all on Netflix, and not only to watch but to download. So I downloaded all three of them to my phone, and for the long January of 2018, it's what I listened to exclusively when I was driving in the car. was Ocean's 11, then Ocean's 12, then Ocean's 13. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, because those movies, yes, while there's very visual beauty to them, like the language is the thing that I really like about those films. And it was listening to Ocean's 12 for the second time through that I'm like, oh, I understand the problem with this movie, because everybody points a finger at Julia Roberts' Tess character pretending to be Julia Roberts.
that is one of many problems with that movie, but yes, that is definitely one of the
they
key
point
ones.
that as a finger as a problem, right? And it is a problem when that movie comes out. I want to say like 2004, maybe that came out, maybe 2005.
Yeah.
And we all point a finger like I was freaking crazy, but like what in fact it was like the first mainstream meta humor. And like now that meta humor is part of the vocabulary of comedy, like at least in popular culture and modern culture now, like you go back and you watch that and that's like legitimately hilarious.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it works because we all understand what it is.
yeah, well, and part of it is that you've got to earn moments like that. Like you've got to earn the right to be meta. You can't just suddenly pull it out of nowhere. So the other thing is that with so much of the rest of the movie being shaky, the second that happens, it's too much. It just weighs the whole thing down and breaks it. Like so it's not necessarily that the scene itself is bad. It's the scene within the context of the rest of that movie just still does not work for me.
That's what I'm about to say, and that's what's about to blow your fucking mind, Sejohn.
Okay.
Is that whole movie and how shaky it is, and how like it feels like none of the guys in that movie want to be there. That whole movie is meta. And it is like a meta representation of the way that these actors feel about getting pulled in to do a sequel that none of them expected and none of them really wanted to do. But they're there because the first movie made so much fucking money.
Yeah.
And so like the whole thing is this exercise in like, oh, why is it this? Why are we doing this? And it really builds up the characters. And then that movie, against all odds, makes a shit ton of money too. So they're like, we want to do a third one. And that's when they realize like, oh, well, people actually really do like these films, right? Like we did that movie where like all of us acted like we were kind of being inconvenienced and didn't want to be there. In fact, that's kind of the fucking story of Ocean's 12. It's like an inconvenience that they all get pulled back together. Because they're not best friends. They're not all family. In the first movie, and you realize this with the benefit of Ocean's 12, they're kind of just guys that were all hired to work together.
Exactly.
It's like their bonds formed through the shared misery and excitement that they all go through.
Okay.
So, I don't know. And then they're like, so let's give them in Ocean's 13 this movie that really says, we fucking care about you too.
Yeah.
Let's do this a movie that like says
Well, and it was really clear because at the time they took their time to make that one. Like it
it
didn't
wasn't as
feel
rushed
rushed
as
out
Ocean's
like
12.
Ocean
Yeah.
12, right? And like the story is much more is much smaller and much more just about them as a group as opposed to being this weird thing that is like this world tour that they go on in Ocean's 12, right? Like yeah, it's just it's a much more it's a much more well thought out film. Ocean's 13 is, I mean. So yeah. So
Yeah, if Ocean's 12 is a protest song, Ocean's 13 is a love letter to the fans.
mhm.
And I think that's a reason why people don't like Ocean's 13 is it's like, no, I don't want you to acknowledge me. I just want to watch you steal things.
I liked it better when you mistreated me. That's how this relationship works.
Come on, George Clooney, you love pranks. And also George Clooney loves pranks. So if Ocean's 12 was a multi-million-dollar prank on everybody who liked Ocean's 11, I completely fucking get it.
I'd believe it. I believe it. Him and Brad Pitt banding together to prank the world.
And, so we'll get to Ocean's 8. You haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna do like a big deep dive or anything like this. But
I'll be
will
honest.
say-
The biggest reason I didn't see it, no idea it was even coming out this weekend. Like, I mean, I know that we've talked about this before. I don't truck in the same avenues as a lot of like advertising like viewers, but I honestly think they've done a terrible job of letting me know that that movie was coming out this weekend.
Yeah, kinda. Honestly, yes. And the reason I say that is I have my little cheat sheet. My cheat sheet began on April 6th with blockers. I have known every movie that I am going to be in the theater for on Thursday to see the pre-release.
Mm-hmm.
And that only got fucked up because Action Point only had midnight showings. And they don't do midnight movies at any of the theaters around here anymore.
Oh man,
I'm okay with it, to be completely honest with you. Because like that meant I get to go to sleep at a normal time. But it also means that because of that, they did change their contract to do the like 7:00 showings.
yeah.
So it's awesome that I can go see a 7:00 movie on Thursday night and like not have to worry about spoilers the next day when the reviews all drop.
Yeah.
As opposed to like I have to stay up till midnight to not have Infinity
I have to
War
stay up till
ruined.
4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Really is. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not going to Denny's after a midnight movie.
Well, exactly.
So yeah, and so that's the thing. Because even Dale, I'm like, yeah, don't forget Thursday. We're doing all this, and this was like we talked about it the Friday before. I'm like, so Thursday you're gonna take me to work, and then after work we'll get dinner, and we'll go right to the movie theater to see Ocean's 8. And she was all about it. And then Wednesday night, I'm like, all right, so we're still set for tomorrow. You're gonna take me to work, and she's like, why am I taking you to work? And I'm like, because we're seeing a movie. What movie are we seeing? Ocean's 8, Dale. We talked about this a week ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're not wrong. Like, if you're not one of these people who is obsessing on IMDb's coming soon and making yourself that cheat sheet, I don't know how you're going to know when movies come out. Especially a movie like Ocean's 8, where, like, every time I saw a trailer for it, I changed the channel. Because
well, the big thing for me is that I don't watch TV, right? So they're not going to get me through the traditional means of television.
Right.
And so they're not posting anywhere. Like there was no, like, for lack of a better term, there was no viral marketing for this type of movie. And I mean, I'm no slouch. I've gone to the movies a few times in the last couple of months. I have not seen a preview for that movie since I think maybe last summer when it was like a reveal trailer. Since then, I haven't seen another one.
Wow, lucky you. Because let me tell you what I've had to do at every movie leading up to Ocean's 8. Close my eyes and jam my fingers in my ears and sing Happy Fucking Birthday, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Because I did not want to see or hear anything about that movie. Because as Dale wrote down, she totally friggin' Neil Patrick Harris this, wrote down in a piece of paper and sealed it in an envelope after she saw a trailer. And she's like, we're going to open that afterwards and I'm going to be right. And I'm like, fine, whatever. She was right. Like, they reveal a huge plot detail in the trailer. And it's like, and so it's like, so don't see trailers for Ocean's 8 if you want to enjoy it.
I actually might know exactly what moment she's talking about. But anyway, with the one trailer I saw a year ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
It's just, but it's good. And there are, even though they reveal that one plot detail, there are so many other things that they have been mum and tight-lipped on that like go see it soon before there's a bunch of spoilers out there and
Okay,
all
good
of
to
the
know.
fun is destroyed. Like to
Okay.
be fair, I went to the IMDb trivia the next day and the first trivia item was like X X X and X show up in this movie, and it's like, yeah, that should have a spoiler tag because all those people who show up, that's a great moment that shows up. And I don't think I ruined anything with you because it's the Met Gala, so of course people are going to show up at the Met Gala.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
But yes, so it's very, very good. And here's what I want to have happen. I want them to do 8, 9, 10, and then fucking Ocean's 14 brings both of them together. And a
That's
fucking
amazing.
Fast 5, like, we fucking did it storyline.
Steven Soderbergh's still like heavily involved or what?
He's the producer on it.
Okay.
I think he was too busy doing Logan Lucky.
Yeah.
It was Gary Ross who did it, so he did Hunger Games. So he's more than competent as a director.
Yeah.
And it's very good. I really, really like the movie. I liked the movie so much that I would have bought a ticket and seen it again that night.
Nice. Good. Excellent.
Glad
to hear it.
And that's the highest praise that I can give to a film, as listeners of the show should know by this point. So that's everything. Do you have anything to add?
No, man. This has been a good week so far. I started the new job and it is kicking my ass, but it's good times. So that's exciting. But yeah, man. This has been awesome.
All right. So I want to add one other thing. It is June, which means it's an even month, which means that there will be a very special episode on the last Thursday of this month.
Oh.
Yay! And it's weird because we just kind of stumbled into talking about it. But it's going to be another music-centric episode. And what we're going to look at is Newfound Glories from the Screen to Your Stereo CD album, where they cover some of the hit songs from 7 movies.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard this CD, Sejohn.
I've heard stuff off of it. It's no effects, man.
It's not No Effects. It's Newfound Glory.
Newfound Glory. I mean, sorry.
But yeah, so they're a band.
I'm just saying it was a band hard to get away from.
They were definitely hard to avoid. I will do, and this is also one of those things where I'm like, I know they're covers, but they're so original and they're so different that I'm going to forgive it. And Newfound Glory just announced that next summer they're going to release From the Screen to Your Stereo 3, officially completing the trilogy. So I thought it would be really fun for the Say Report to listen to that album and really give a deep dive into it the way that we did with the All Hallows EP last Halloween.
Yeah.
So sorry to spring that on you, Sejohn, but I was also springing it on the people because we talked about covers and all music stuff today, so it just felt right. Sometimes a door opens and a window opens, and you get a lovely cross breeze. And that's this episode of the Say Report. If you'd like to yell at me at my bad metaphor skills, I am available on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And don't send anything to me. I'm at Siege versus the World. I'm not the one that said that.
Until next time, Will, take me home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Selwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.